Welcome back. Well, we are joined here by Lee Mackey, partner and president at Mach Financial. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
You bet. Glad to be here.
All right, so we are talking, if you missed the last half hour, we're talking about estate planning, everything centered around that. And for those maybe who didn't watch that, what exactly is estate planning?
You know, estate planning is, planning for your estate. It includes wills, trust, powers of attorney for health care, for financial reasons. One thing I didn't mention earlier, it also includes advanced directives, which are the living wills as well.
Absolutely. The living wills. Talk a little bit. What is that?
A living will is essentially, that those decisions that you make at the time of death. Do you want to be kept alive by artificial means? Do you want fluids? Do you want hydration? Do you want to be kept alive past the time when oftentimes the doctors have determined that, it was time to go?
Gotcha.
And there's a lot of thought and planning that goes into estate planning. So where do people start? What do they need? What are the things they need to think about?
That's a good question. You need to start now. Okay. There's really not an age, based. Oftentimes a misconception is, well, I need to have X amount of dollars, or I need to be close to retirement. Well, in fact, if you own assets, if you've got retirement accounts, if you've got children, then you need to do estate planning, and start with the basics. Put a will in place. If you've got assets, you might want to look at a revocable living trust, which would allow you to avoid probate. If you've got children, it's imperative that you put together a plan, because then you're determining, you're making the decision of who's going to care for your minor children, not the court.
Absolutely. And can we ask, that question of everybody always says, if you write a will on a napkin or a piece of paper, is that a binding document or something like that?
It depends on what state you live in.
Okay.
Most of our viewers are in Arkansas, and Arkansas does allow holographic wills. That's what a handwritten note essentially is called, a holographic will. Arkansas allows it with certain conditions. Those are, you have to prove that that there was testamentary intent, that the person that was writing it intended it for it to be their will. You have to be able to prove that it's their handwriting. And so, yes, they are allowable. I've heard it compared this way. If you're building a house with just a hammer and no blueprint, you may get into the house, but you may not like what you have once you're in there. It may be a legal and valid will, but you're going to create probably more problems down the road. I mean, you're going to go to court to try to prove that it was in fact a will. I mean, if somebody was left out, they have a good chance to contest it and to fight it and to say, well, Uncle Joe or mom or dad didn't really mean that, because they were just scribbling it on a piece of paper.
Right.
So it can oftentimes create more problems than being helpful.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so the best is to not do it last minute on a napkin. Plan ahead.
Do it well before you think you need it. Absolutely.
And when it comes to people having those documents done, signed, what do we do from there? Who needs to keep those? Where do we put them?
Keep them in a safe place. If you have a fireproof container at the house, a fireproof safe, keep it at your bank, safety deposit box. Oftentimes the attorneys will keep copies. Us at Mach 1, we keep them in our client files electronically, because we're dealing with all sorts of planning with regard to our clients. And so we keep it. We want to know. Oftentimes we are involved with a lot of that estate planning. And so it just makes sense for the professionals in your life to have that. Maybe not your children, but if they're named as executor or trustee, oftentimes you may even include them in having a copy.
Gotcha. And let's talk about what are some misconceptions about estate planning and wills.
And I mentioned that before, and oftentimes it is, well, I'm not old enough to have a will or a trust, or I don't have enough money. But as I said before, I mean, if you own property in the state of Arkansas, if you own a house, I mean, if you've got a retirement account, if you have children, you need to start. If you're over 18, you have to be over 18 to sign a contract in the state of Arkansas. So most people are, but start early. And the nice thing about it is, as life changes, so can your documents. What we're putting in place is not set in stone and forever forgotten. I recommend to everybody that we work with, every 18 months or so, pull it out, make sure things are the way that they still should be. If you've had a life event, if you've had a marriage, a divorce, a death, a move to a new state, you should review those documents and see if they're still effective and still make sense.
Well, I really liked what you said earlier, the difference between a will and a trust. A will basically has to go through probate, through the court system. It's public. A trust is more private and sort of it is what it is. But why then would anybody choose a will over a trust? Is it the cost to put it in place?
Oftentimes it is. Oftentimes it is that if you don't own a lot of assets, sometimes a will can be okay. Arkansas has a small estate exemption to where if you have assets less than $100,000, you can, at the death, the executor can essentially fill out a form, give it to the judge and say, you know, this person died with less than $100,000. The judge will sign off as a small estate and you can avoid probate. So there are reasons like cost that come into that. But, you know, if you've got assets at all, if you've got a family, you know, trust oftentimes make the most sense. A revocable living trust.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here with us today. Thank you for
Hope it's been helpful.
asking. Yes, absolutely. So it's time. Danny, it's time to get started. If you haven't started, just get it done. It's a peace of mind.
Yeah, that's true. It is peace of mind. And yeah, even for a young fellow, I think I'm young.
You're not going anywhere soon.
No, I'd hope not. But like you said, always good to have that and like peace of mind just in case, you know, the worst happens. But we're not going to think about that. We're going to think about for today some nice